10 most famous religious paintings in the world. One. Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. Da Vinci's Last Supper is preserved at the Dominican monastery of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan. To ensure the preservation of this masterpiece, the room's temperature is controlled, allowing a maximum of 25 people inside every 15 minutes. Photography is not allowed. You can only capture a framed replica outside the main dining hall. The painting depicts the betrayal of Jesus and the institution of the Eucharist. It captures the moment when Jesus informs his disciples that one of them will betray him. Da Vinci illustrates the reactions of each disciple to this revelation. The disciples are arranged in groups of 3, forming 4 groups, with Jesus at the center, symbolizing the Holy Trinity. He is portrayed calmly, contrasting the astonished expressions of the disciples. Clearly, Leonardo da Vinci's mural has inspired countless generations of Catholic believers. I have seen replicas of this painting in most Catholic dining halls. It's one of the famous artworks I remember seeing since my childhood. Beyond its thematic significance, the depth of the painting is one detail I admire in this masterpiece. I also learned that Leonardo didn't have a surname. That's why he is called da Vinci, meaning from Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci spent many years painting the Last Supper because he wanted his work to be as authentic as possible, selecting models with great precision. He carefully chose a young, beautiful man with a saintly face, pure character, and a pure soul to portray Jesus for 6 months. He worked tirelessly with this young man to recreate the image of Jesus, a face of gentleness, holiness, and compassion truly befitting the Son of God. Choosing models and painting the 12 apostles was not difficult. 6 years later, he completed all 12, only Judas, the disciple who betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, remained without a model. Leonardo wanted to find a man with a face that exuded greed, deceit, false morality, and extreme cruelty, a face that reflected the character of someone willing to betray his closest friend, his beloved teacher. The search seemed hopeless until one day, the artist received a notification about a criminal whose appearance might meet his requirements. He was in a dungeon in Rome, awaiting execution for murder and numerous other heinous crimes. Da Vinci immediately traveled to Rome. Before him stood a man with dark skin, long unkempt hair falling over his face, a face marked by cruelty and depravity. Looking at him, the painter was astonished. It was indeed the model for Judas he had been searching for tirelessly. With special permission from the king, the criminal's execution was postponed. He was brought to the Santa Maria delle Grazie monastery, where the painting was still in progress. Every day, the prisoner sat silently before Da Vinci, while the genius artist diligently worked, portraying the appearance of a treacherous man onto the canvas. 6 exhausting months passed. When the final stroke of the brush was complete, weary from facing evil for so long, he turned to the guards and said, "Take him away." The guards, ready to escort the condemned man away, suddenly saw the prisoner rush to kneel before the artist and cry out, "Oh, Sir Da Vinci, look at me. Don't you recognize me?" Da Vinci scrutinized the face he had met continuously for the past 6 months. Finally, he shook his head. "No, I have never seen you until you were brought to me from the dungeon in Rome." At this moment, the prisoner cried even louder, "Mr. Vinci, please look at me again. I am the person you chose 7 years ago to model for God." Da Vinci was now utterly stunned by what he was witnessing. Ironically, the young man chosen to represent God had, in just over 2,000 days, transformed himself into the most despicable traitor in history. A perfect image had become a sinister, deceitful, and base person. With that thought, he sighed, shook his head, and quietly left the room. This story has been studied and circulated in the scientific community for many years, raising the question, how can a portrait, beautiful and compassionate, carefully chosen from thousands of people, still become a deceptive, despicable, and lowly character at the bottom of society? The essence of human beings is not fixed today. You might be beautiful, but no one can predict how you might change tomorrow. Whether you're good or bad isn't determined in a single day of your life. So, never forget to be a good person. Don't give up just because you might have acted poorly today. We have decades in our lives to prove who we truly are. Leonardo da Vinci never met the characters he painted for many years, so he couldn't fathom the extent of their transformations. However, the character he painted still knew who he used to be before facing execution. Similarly, even if everyone else forgets, never abandon the goodness within yourself. Da Vinci spent a lot of time depicting the people beside Jesus, and the people we encounter every day around us can be categorized into groups. Those who fear, those who are awestruck, those who argue, those most suspicious. These are the people we face in life. Whether they're betrayers or loyalists, cowards or fools, they're challenging to recognize. The painting is a microcosm of society, displaying many ugly aspects. But what remains within you the most? It's the serene face of Jesus, the embodiment of love and holiness. 2. Christ Crucified by Velázquez. This painting, created by the Spanish artist Diego Velázquez from Seville, depicts the silent image of Christ after his death. The work portrays Jesus in classic proportions, exuding the perfection of a man. Droplets of blood slowly trickle from his wounds, running along his body and the wooden cross, conveying a sense of solitude, tranquility, and repose, rather than emphasizing the pain of Christ's ordeal. This artwork truly is a prayerful painting, inviting contemplation and silence. 3. The Adoration of the Shepherds by El Greco. The real name of the artist is Domenikos Theotokopoulos, but he adopted the pseudonym El Greco, meaning the Greek in Spanish. He was born in Crete, but spent most of his life in Spain. Becoming a Spanish citizen of Greek origin, it is said that more than other painters, he understood the religious fervor of the Spanish people. The painting The Adoration of the Shepherds is housed in the Prado Museum and measures 126.71 inches. Tour guides often say that this painting is one of the most visited artworks. The painting captures the astonishment on the faces of the shepherds as they gaze upon the radiant image of the baby Jesus, whom the Virgin Mary is tenderly presenting. The figure of the shepherd kneeling in worship, arms folded in reverence, is perhaps a self-portrait of El Greco, depicting his overflowing piety. 4. The Angelus by Millet. The painting The Angelus by Jean-François Millet is exhibited at the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, with dimensions of 21.9 times 26 inches. The subjects in the painting are truly captivating. A man and a woman are reading the Angelus prayer in a peaceful field, pausing amidst their work. All their tools, such as a pitchfork, basket, shawl, and a compact cart, lie right beside them. 5. The Tears of St. Peter by El Greco. This artwork truly captures the essence of human nature in St. Peter. It is displayed at the El Greco Museum in Toledo, Spain. In this exquisite piece, St. Peter's eyes shimmer with tears after denying Christ. With immense regret and sorrow for his sins, he gazes heavenward, seeking forgiveness. In the background, on the left, two small figures appear, representing hope, a woman, and an angel. Mary Magdalene symbolizes the repentant sinner, and is the one who will inform St. Peter about the empty tomb. The angel carries the responsibility of proclaiming Jesus' resurrection. 6. The Descent from the Cross by Van der Weyden. This painting was created by the Belgian artist Roger van der Weyden. The Descent from the Cross is an early work of the Flemish school, depicting characters in lifelike proportions. The triptych measures 86.5 inches and is displayed at the Prado Museum in Madrid. This artistic masterpiece illustrates the pain endured by the Virgin Mary before the passion and death of her Son. Joseph of Arimathea, Nicodemus, and another person support the body of Jesus. The Virgin Mary has fainted and is lifted by St. John, surrounded by several virtuous women who witness the crucifixion. The face of the Virgin Mary is pale, and the blue robe she wears creates a stark contrast with her skin tone. The parallelism of the Virgin and the body of Jesus alludes to the dual anguish. The expressions of all characters in the painting are profoundly moving. If I had to describe this artwork in one word, it would be magnificent. 7. The Immaculate Conception by Murillo. The Immaculate Conception is a work by the Spanish artist Bartolomé Esteban Murillo. There are several paintings with the same title in the El Prado Museum. This particular painting measures 108 by 75 inches to 0.75 x 1.9 meters. The doctrine of the Immaculate Conception pertains to the Virgin Mary, a pure vessel chosen to bear Jesus Christ, who was conceived without original sin. The Roman Catholic Church teaches that, from the moment of her conception, Mary was granted grace that most people receive through the sacrament of baptism after birth. The portrayal of the Virgin Mary in this painting stems from the Book of Revelation, describing a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet.
8. The Disputation of the Sacrament by Raphael.
The Disputation of the Sacrament by Raphael depicts a scene witnessed both in heaven and on earth. The painting, measuring 200-300 inches, 5 by 7.6 meters, is displayed at the Vatican Museum. The beauty of fresco paintings is often overlooked, without understanding the meaning behind the artwork. God the Father stands behind. Jesus sits on a golden throne, showing the wounds on his hands. Below him is the Holy Spirit. Jesus sits between Mary, his mother, and John the Baptist, his cousin and precursor, the Holy Trinity and Mary and John from the shape of the cross. To the right and left of the Holy Trinity are the Church militant, represented by elders and prophets from the Old Testament, as well as martyrs and apostles from the New Testament. They are the crowd of witnesses. The figures from left to right include St. Peter, Adam, St. John the Baptist, King David, St. Lawrence, Judas Maccabeus, St. Stephen, Moses, St. James the Less, Abraham, and St. Paul. Below the scene of heavenly realm is the sacrament of the Eucharist, the pillar of the Church militant, represented by the faithful traveling on earth. The painting portrays members of the Church debating the transubstantiation and the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. The painting illustrates the unity of the Holy Trinity, the Eucharist, and the people of God in heaven and on earth, forming the Church. 9. The Coronation of the Virgin by Velázquez. In this painting, Mary is at the center, Jesus is on the left, and God the Father is on the right, with the Holy Spirit in between, forming the Holy Trinity. The painting measures 70 by 52 inches, 1.8 x 1.3 meters, and the original artwork is housed at the Prado Museum. The composition forms an inverted triangle, but also resembles a heart shape. Mary is the central figure, displaying humility, reverence, and emotion. Her right hand placed over her heart reinforces this idea. God the Father is depicted as an elderly figure, symbolizing wisdom. Both the Father and the Son are crowning the Virgin with a crown of roses. The Holy Spirit is traditionally represented as a dove. The three persons are presented at the same height, reminding us of the perfect equality of the Holy Trinity. Angels are depicted below the feet of the painting. The use of heavenly blue and violet in the garments, instead of the traditional red, is a notable detail. Heavenly blue symbolizes grace. Virgin Mary is often depicted in heavenly blue attire. It is also the color of hope, health, and obedience. The violet hue is always associated with royal majesty. 10. The Virgin of the Grapes by Mignard. The Virgin of the Grapes is a painting created by the French artist Pierre Mignard in 1640, now exhibited at the Louvre Museum. The painting measures 47.6 x 37 inches, 1.2 x 0.9 meters. The dark sky in the background is partially covered by a veil, symbolizing tranquility and harmony. Baby Jesus tenderly gazes at us from under the thin veil of his mother's clothing, symbolizing purity. The heavenly blue cloak of the Virgin represents the sky, and the red color symbolizes her love. The grapes may signify the original sin, and the bunch of grapes that Virgin Mary and baby Jesus hold in their hands represents the Holy Eucharist and the sacrifice of Christ. As a mother, I immediately felt a connection with this portrait. There is an incredibly tender expression here. I have a little one, and he loves grapes too. The painting truly inspires me to be a patient and loving mother, especially as I navigate the challenging toddler years that people often refer to as the terrible twos.